The Aftermath, every Sunday morning from 6 o'clock on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Massive weekend of rugby league, and it continued on. I think the game on Thursday night was one of the best I've ever seen, with the Storm and the Broncos fighting out of beauty. But it was a big day there yesterday as well, with Manly upsetting Penrith. We're going to talk about it now with James Sullivan. Good morning, Sul.
Hello, gentlemen. How are we?
Going beautifully. Thank you, Sul. All the better for hearing your voice down the line on this Sunday morning. Do you concur with Marty? He just made the claim that the Storm Broncos game there on Thursday night is up there with as good as he has ever seen.
Yeah, we saw plenty of points, didn't we? That was the big thing. And, yeah, as I said to Marty on Friday, you heard Craig Bellamy after it, and, you know, he was basically wasn't really giving his side a rap, but he was giving the Broncos a rap, you know. But, mate, it's been a crazy weekend. And let's be totally honest, we've seen... You talk about... It's funny, you know, you say that game on Thursday night, and then we see the game on Friday night between the Bulldogs and Roosters. Oh, my God, HIAs everywhere.
Yes.
26 points to nil at half-time. The Bulldogs get up by 4:30-26. They had Dom Young sent off, so the first sending off for the... That was just craziness, and then we rolled into yesterday as well. And I'll tell you what will come out of the weekend, boys, is the injuries. It's going to be a big toll come tomorrow morning by the looks of the reports.
And I'll tell you what, the injuries to some of the supporters' egos with the Rabbits getting absolutely walloped, 34-4 again, Sul. That's a game we won't spend too much time on. They are absolutely in the doldrums right now. It's hard to see how things are going to turn around for them. They need a circuit breaker, it must be said.
Yeah, the big problem, Shorty, and I know you are a Rabbitohs man, yeah, mate, they came into it, I sort of have said to Marty, like, the Campbell-Graham thing sort of made me, when I know he had the operation well into the pre-season, he hurt the pec last year. And then, mate, sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. Sam Burgess, one of the greats, left the club last year. It was all publicised and didn't say it too light, did he? But he did say he thought one or two people in the inner sanctum had too much to say. He's one of them, Latrell Mitchell, mate. Mate, he made two dumb decisions yesterday. Dumb decisions. He's got the ball. Bring it out of his own line, puts the elbow. And when I first saw it, I thought, holy dooly, he's absolutely elbowed Johnson in the face. Mm-hmm. And then sort of grabbed him. Sorry, mate. Well, upstairs saw it and came back. Then the Warriors get the footy back. Mate, it got worse for them yesterday. Young Lachlan Ilias, the halfback who's been back in reserve grade, last play of the day, putting a kick through. He's had his leg snapped as well. So, mate, they just keep getting injuries. And Latrell, he'll cop a couple of weeks, lads. So that might be what the side needs. Because I'll tell you what, Shorty, I thought Cody Walker really had a crack yesterday. He played pretty well along with Jack Whiten. Jack Whiten, we all know what he's like. He's 110 mile an hour. He was very, very good as well. But as I said to the boys and Marty on the weekend, mate, that Warriors backline, they look like a BMW. Once they get going, Wade Egan at a hooker, unbelievable yesterday. And then Sean Johnson had a field day on the back of their forwards and their backline. Oh, they're going to be a dangerous side, the Warriors.
Okay.
Brick wall. It's a brick wall.
Yeah.
But to be fair, right now, the Rabbits are in free fall. They really are battling. And like you've touched on, the injuries are really cruelling them. They don't have the quality to come through. It's going to be a long old season.
What about the match for Daly Cherry Evans? He's broken the game record holder at Manly, and then they've gone and beaten the Panthers 32-18. And in the 54th minute, he went over and scored a try.
Yeah, everything that could have happened for him, didn't it? And it didn't start so well. Brad Schneider scores in the 5th minute for the Panthers, and I think everybody thought, here we go. And it didn't take till the 25th minute for the Sea Eagles to get on the board through Tommy Trbojevic, of course, and then, the second half. 14-6 at half-time they led, and I think most of us thought, Penrith will get into the role, but Sea Eagles controlled the ball, and as you said, Daly Cherry Evans had an absolute field day, and that's a big win. They needed that because they were just falling off the hill a little bit. 2 losses, obviously lost to the Eels, lost to the Dragons in the last 2 weeks, and I actually thought they really had to get their show on the road, and they did. Panthers, I don't think it'll worry them too much. They, as I said, they didn't have a lot of ball in the second half, but, maybe sometimes a loss never hurts.
Where do you rate him, Daly Cherry Evans? He's a polariser. A lot of people, either love him or hate him, but he's been around in State of Origin. He's been around for a very long time at Manly. What was it, 311 games, I think. So where do you rate him?
Oh, mate, I think what he's done, I think early in his career is polarised. Of course, he was going to go to the Titans and then reneged and then went back to the Sea Eagles. So I think over the last couple of years, he's become that leader of the Queensland side. When you look at it, when the guys, your Cronks, Smiths and Slaters all moved on, Daly Cherry Evans has put his hand up. He's got a great relationship with Billy Slater, the Queensland coach. And the way, mate, I've met him a couple of times. He's just a nice kid, and I've never had a problem with him. But I tell you what, he's a proud man and he leads from the front. So, yeah, and that was a big second half. I reckon Seabold, I would have loved him in a fly on the wall at half-time because I reckon that's the way he would have thrown it. Come on, lift for this bloke. And they did.
Yeah, it's certainly something that the coaches do have up their sleeve when there's club legends playing these sorts of games and breaking records and the like. Dolphins, 26-16 winners over the West Tigers there yesterday. Sul, they look to be in control pretty much throughout.
Yeah, you're right, Shorty, and I think the big thing that all these sides led at half-time and controlled it. Dolphins led 14-0 at half-time and, just did what they had to do. The concerns, though, and I was just talking to Soap about it, lots of injuries coming out of this Dolphins game. Herbie Farnworth, Kafusi, Tom Flegler, all, that's the big one for me. They can't afford to lose those guys. At the moment, though, have a look at the ladder, boys. The Dolphins sit on top.
Yep.
Yeah, so, they sit on top. They were good. They did. The West Tigers have been okay the last few weeks, but as I said, the Dolphins got out of the blocks and with that back line, they do score points quickly.
Okay, 2 games today. North Queensland Cowboys $1.15, Titans $5.50. The line there 16.5, and then the Raiders $1.76. The Eels are $2.06, and we're at -1.5 there for the Faves.
Yeah, I think the first game, obviously a Sunday afternoon game up there in Townsville, and interesting enough, Todd Payton has picked the same 17 after they were disgraceful last week, completing at 61%. Cannot do that against good football teams. The Titans, they're struggling to score points. 18 points in 3 games. Oh, fair dinkum. They need to find their mojo. Can they find it in Townsville? I don't think so. I think the Cowboys will win and win big. The next game, looking forward to this one. I'm out there. I'm calling the reserve grade, actually, today out there at GIO. So looking forward to that one. The Raiders, both the Raiders and the Eels, rude losses last week. Bad losses too. Raiders, as we know, led 18-0 halfway through the game, halfway through the first half, and got rissoled. So, yeah, always close games, these games, when these two sides play. So I'm going to go the Raiders, 1-12, I reckon. But Moses, that hurts. That's the big thing for the Eels. And last week, no kicking game from him, and they capitulated against the Tigers. So we'll have a couple of plays. We always do. Cowboys 13+. Raiders 1-12 at $4.82. Righto. So, and what I've done here, the same game combo. We're going to have a same game combo multi. So I'm going to go the Cowboys win, Jeremiah Nanai scores. Raiders win, Seb Chris scores, $9.40.
All right. Just talk us through those two again, Sub. So we've got Cowboys and Nanai to score any time.
Yep, that's right.
And the second one was?
Raiders and Seb Chris.
Raiders and Chris.
K-R-I-S. So that's on the same game combos. So you can multi them up. So we need a bit of luck, but I reckon we might be on the right track.
All right, so Nanai and Chris to get over the line for us, Cowboys and Raiders to salute. We could get something out of that. And if you're just looking to keep it simple, North Queensland 13+, Raiders 1-12, $4.82. Sul, outstanding as always this morning. Appreciate your time. Enjoy your rugby this Sunday afternoon.
Stay safe, boys.
Thanks, Sul. There he is, 0427 789 571. That is the Retrovision text line. Gary Howarth, one of our favourites, has come in with, "G'day, lads. Great day's racing yesterday. Thanks to one of the good guys, Steve Parnham, and the new Big O doing their thing. But as you said, what a day for the Parnham boys."
It's magnificent, Marty. And they're a great family, we know, in WA racing. But for all of the boys to light it up and line up like this on the day, there's a great photo there of Neville with his 3 boys. And I'll tell you what, talk about a proud father moment. His boys are right on top of the world at the moment. And Good luck to them, Marty. You've had a lot to do with them over the years. They've always been an absolute pleasure to deal with, and to see them have a day where the four of them basically just take the show over and say it's all us is a pretty special afternoon, one that they'll remember for many years to come.
Yes, and talking about families in racing, we've got a special guest coming up from the Freedman family.
Being tackled by Traffic Warden, 2:50 to go. Then Storm Boy Fearless. Manal's winding up on the outside, and Coleman as well. Traffic Warden races to the lead. Storm Boy's in trouble. Traffic Warden being joined by Coleman. Manal wide out. It's Traffic Warden. Manal going to Traffic Warden. They're wide apart. They hit it. Oh, Manal's put a bob in. So did Traffic Warden. Tight.
Yeah, put a bob in and got the money. Michael Freedman joins us on the aftermath. A very good morning, Michael.
Yeah, good morning, guys.
How are you after that Group 1 win of the size yesterday by Manal, your filly? You're so excited about her.
Yeah, look, it was a big thrill. I think, as I said yesterday, it was a little we were all a bit dejected after the Golden Slipper, sort of thinking, what might have been if she'd have drawn a barrier. So to sort of come out and, pick that race off yesterday, against the Colts, it was certainly a big thrill for everybody involved.
Absolutely, Michael. And it's racing, you don't always get what you deserve. Sometimes you can be an unlucky runner one week and think, we were probably the stiff one, and next time out you can get more of the same. But I think most people that watch the Slipper, Manal was the real flashing lights run out of that race. Yesterday, no doubt you went in quite confident, but how was that time between the Slipper and yesterday? Did everything go pretty much to plan with Manal in the build-up to yesterday's run?
Yeah, it did actually. She, she's a pretty straightforward sort of filly. She's so, easy around the stables and, in work and all that. She's sort of a trainer's dream, really. So, she's a pretty fit filly. She didn't need to do a great deal between the Slipper and yesterday's race. And, I guess I was a little bit sort of disappointed when we drew the outside marble again. But Jason, gave her a great ride. So we had a good discussion before the race as to how we thought we'd need to ride her, and he sort of rode her pretty much spot on. So I was really happy for him too, because I think he was pretty disappointed with the result in the Slipper, and he was certainly pretty wrapped with yesterday's outcome.
She just looks to race and do everything in her stride very easily. She relaxes beautifully, and then you set her alight top of the straight and she charges home.
Yeah, I mean, she probably, as Jason said after the race, she just at the top of the straight there, I think Coleman sort of pushed his way out and just got her a bit off balance. And he said it took her sort of 100 metres or so to sort of get rebalanced and be able to let down like she can. So probably made it look a little harder than perhaps it was. But, she's very typical of those two sorts. I've got a few of them in the stable, and they've all got these great temperaments. And as I said before, it just makes a trainer's job so much easier when you can deal with horses that have just got a really relaxed demeanour about them. That
does make life a lot easier. The distance-wise, yesterday, the way that Manal hit the line, you'd suggest that no problems getting a little bit further. What's in store for Manal heading forward, and how far do you think she may get long-term?
Oh, look, I think probably a mile would definitely see her out. I think she can get a mile. Whether that's in 2 weeks' time in the Champagne, we're still having a bit of a think about that, or whether that's coming back in the spring as a 3-year-old. I think she's got that sort of up her sleeve, but I think a mile would be her outer limit, and pedigree would probably suggest the same, but I think if she can get a mile, it still opens up, lots of options for her.
So you'll just let her tell you over the next couple of days if you go forward to the Champagne, Michael?
Yeah, look, yesterday having a chat to her owner, Hussein Lutar, he was, I just, you never want to make decisions on race day anyway, but we just said, let's just see how she pulls up. There's no real pressure from him either way. So we'll just let the dust settle for a day or two. She's come home and eaten up last night, so that's always a good sign. But, we won't need to make any decisions just yet. We'll just see how she is over the next couple of days.
Michael, I'd just be interested too to get your thoughts on the 48 hours in the build-up to race day there yesterday. The amount of rain that was falling, and we were sort of following it pretty closely over here on the other side of the country, and there was so many people on social media saying this meeting's 1,000,000 to 1 to run. There's so much rain over here. Internally, yourself and your staff and most industry members over there, was there an expectation that this meeting was any hope to go ahead with the amount of rain that was around, and did it change any of the preparations that you may have had with any of your horses?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was. I was here early, obviously, like everybody else, and I've been back at Randwick here for a little while now, and I've never seen as much water lying around, and I was one of them who thought we're no hope of racing, and full credit to the team here, to not only put on a race meeting, but the track actually getting an upgrade to eventually a heavy 8 was just extraordinary. But yeah, I think it did sort of mess things around a little bit, just because we had to wait until 7:45 to find out if we were running, and then I had a couple of horses to scratch that needed to work if they didn't run. I'm back here this morning galloping horses for next week because we couldn't do anything yesterday because there was no tracks to do it on. So it sort of made it a pretty busy sort of 24, 48 hours, that's for sure.
The day started well with you in the Carbine Club Stakes, with Ducasse winning for Blake Shin.
Yeah, look, he's a horse I've always had a lot of time for, and he's been sort of racing for the past nearly 12 months, I guess, at the sort of the top level. He'd been matching it previous to yesterday in those Group 1 races, the Randwick Guineas and the Rose Hill Guineas, and I think just probably a combination of stepping back in distance, slightly down in grade back to a Group 3, and we took all the headgear off him on Tommy Berry's recommendation. He worked him for me on Tuesday morning without any headgear and said it was the best he'd felt. So credit to Tommy there with his judgment. So I think a combination of all that certainly helped yesterday's outcome.
Michael, you must be waking up this morning with a pretty decent level of satisfaction for yourself and your team. When day one of the championships, these are the days you really want to have your team firing on all cylinders. To have a double on a day like that yesterday really underpins your quality as a trainer, and must be something that gives yourself, your owners and all of your staff a real fillip. It's a great time of year to have your horses peaking.
100%. It is sort of those days are the ones that we all sort of get up at crazy hours and work long hours to try and be a part of. And for a small stable like ours, we've only got 50 in work here at Randwick, which these days is a pretty small number of horses. So I'm very lucky. I've got an amazing team of staff who've all fronted up back here this morning, sort of more or less for a normal track work morning. So great thrill for the whole team involved, and hopefully not that we're going to have a whole lot of runners over the final 2 days, but it was certainly I think as a stable our sort of best result for some time to get a couple of winners on a big day like that.
Okay, Michael, 4 Group 1s again this Saturday coming up. Any runners?
Yeah, I'll probably only. I won't have any in the big Group 1s. I think at this stage, I'm hoping I might have a filly to run in the Percy Sykes. If she can gain a start, she's won a 2-year-old maiden up in the provincials a little while ago, about 3 weeks ago, and I've got a lot of time for her, so we're hoping she can get a run in the Percy Sykes, and probably a couple of runners in the South Pacific for the 3-year-olds, and Mumbai Muse. Possibly go around in the fillies and mares race. So we'll have some representation, but not in any of the Group 1 races.
Well, I think the money's in the bank, as they say in the classics there. Michael, a huge day for the stable yesterday. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning here on The Aftermath. Continued success to you.
Thanks very much. My pleasure.
There he goes, Michael Freedman on top of the world. I'll tell you another man who's on top of the world after his winning ride in the Doncaster's, Tyler Schiller.
He just surged underneath me and I thought I was going to get there. It was just a matter of time, and with the lightweight, I was very glad I could make it because he's well and truly worth it.
What were the thoughts when you're straight for home and you had a wall of horses in front of you?
I didn't think I was going to get out, to be honest. I just jammed him into a gap and he was brave enough to take it, so I was very grateful for the owners' connections and Les on a great training performance. For a horse to be that brave, they're 1 in a million, and to do it at top level, he's a bloody good colt.
Well done. Go and enjoy it, mate.
Thank you.
Let Marty Young and David Shortte do all the talking on the Aftermath. Sunday morning at its best on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Into it as they come around the corner and think about it. Booze up to Fierce, and Another Will is cruising up on the outside, and now Carset going Another Will going after Think About It. Pericles stays on well. Over on the inside it's Militarised launching his attack, and further back to Obam Biramai. Up the inside Militarised, wide out Pericles and Militarised fighting it out for the moment. Nugget bursting through, and here he is, Celestial Legend bombing them wide out. Celestial Legend won the Doncaster, nailing, I think, Pericles or Militarised.
What a win. Celestial Legend winning the Doncaster. To tell us all about it is Chris Nelson. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Shorty. And yeah, what a win. What a ride.
Yes.
What an effort to get down to the weight. He was so patient, Tyler Schiller. What a horse. What a trainer. It's a good story, isn't it?
It is a great story all round, and Lethbridge post-race, he just says, I keep getting these good horses. He almost had to pinch himself, but he's second Doncaster. But tell us about the race, because really at about the 300 metres, it was going nowhere. As Tyler Schiller said just in an interview before you come on, that he just jammed it into a position and prayed to God that the seas had opened, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, at the 300-metre mark, as you mentioned there, Marty, he was really just hoping for the seas to open up or something to happen, and it did, but not until about the 150, and I was watching him closely, and he was just waiting and thinking, if this horse gets out, he's got to be a chance. And about the 150-metre mark, he got clear, he angled around the horse in front of him, and the rest was history. He just had enough time to go past him and then come clear and win by, just over half a length on the line, but he was clearly the strongest late. He was the deserved winner of the race and second Group 1. And I think they're going to, there's chat about him maybe heading off and freshening up for an Everest-type tilt. But I thought he'd end up in Hong Kong at some stage.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the future does look like for this horse. But, I tell you what, they're not easy to win the Doncaster. It's a great race each and every year, 49 kilos. So it's certainly a nice advantage to have. Tyler Schiller, he certainly would have enjoyed his meal last night. There's no doubt about that. But credit to the young man. That's the other aspect to this. A lot of people, there aren't a lot of high-quality lightweights left in the game. So these guys really have to do it pretty tough to get themselves ready to roll for these big race days. And credit to Tyler and the result that he's got out of that yesterday. Talk us through the remainder and anything else that took your eyeball out of the race. Pericles at big odds was a good effort for second. Militarised was certainly the start prior looked like was just looking for that little bit further. It was a good performance back in third, and back in fourth was Nugget, who was another horse that was a pretty decent price, but certainly was a good performance from him. And I want to get your take on Another Will. I was quite keen on this horse going into yesterday. It looked to be up there on speed and get its chance, just wasn't quite there yesterday.
No, I just had to do a little bit too much work, probably also early on, Shorty, to get across. So barrier 16 from Another Will. Look, it was a big step up. Doncasters, as you say, they're not easy races to win. You always see these finishes where there's, what do we go? We go right down to the 16th horse, was only beaten just under 4 lengths. So they're very competitive. You run them probably, 10 times. You get many different results amongst the 10 runs. So Another Will, just that early work, maybe a bit too soon for him. There's no doubt he's a star of the future, but look, he wasn't far away. Militarised, you mentioned, there was game. I mean, he had to give 5 kilos from their last effort to their last clash to Celestial Legend, and he did a terrific job. He was only beaten 0.7 of a length. So, yeah, really competitive and usual Doncaster. The likes of Kovalika didn't think about it, was up there and sort of didn't finish off. The Japanese horse, probably the going was against it. Although the going on the day was absolutely unbelievable, what we thought would happen on Friday night, Saturday morning. So, yeah, typical Doncaster, I think the best horse won at the end of the day.
Yeah, we don't want to underestimate this winner. And when you listen to Lethbridge say he is a really, really, really good horse, and you have a look what he's been able to do. He's been a bit of a slow burn, hasn't he? And then all of a sudden, bang, wins the Hobartville, bang, wins the Randwick Guineas, takes out the Doncaster. He's by done deal. He's only a 3-year-old colt who's had, 8 stars for 4 wins. He really could be one out of the blocks.
Yeah, well, I remember Lethbridge saying after he won the Hobartville, he's almost as good as Classic Legend.
Classic. I'm talking about the other one that won the Everest. Of course, I get them mixed up all the time. Classic Legend. No, I'm
Classic
right.
Legend, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, it was Classic Legend. Celestials, Classics, hard to keep an eye on. Classic Legend. He said that after the Hobart run. I thought, well, hang on a minute. If that's the case, this horse goes pretty well. And I think when he got to 1,400 metres, that was the key. You saw at that race before the Hobartville, the 1,200-metre race, he hit the line really strongly, and he got to the 14, then he got to the 16 of the Randwick Guineas, and then yesterday, well, obviously he was freshened up, and he went back to the trials, and if you saw that trial, he was out the back there. And I thought, how does he win this trial? He can't possibly win this trial, even halfway down the straight. But he did. He got through them, and he got home over the top of them, and he wasn't put under a lot of pressure. So I think you're right, Marty. I think he is a star.
Very competitive horse, clearly. And the other thing that's in store, being a colt as a 3-year-old, Group 1 Donny winner, pretty valuable piece of horse flesh in the backyard now.
Yeah. Wouldn't mind to share.
Oh, that's the truth, Chris. We can only dream, great man. You never know. Now, let's go through the rest of this program. We just had a chat to Michael Freedman. Great day for his stable with a double on day one of the championships. We'll go back to where it all kicked off, though, on the day, race number 1. And Espionage took out the first of the day, was pretty well in there in betting. Rosalind Star was the other one that was up there from a betting perspective in the race. But Espionage, when the heat went on over that last furlong, it clicked up and found a gear the others didn't have.
Yeah, he was a bit forgotten, I think, Espionage, because he didn't run in the slipper, of course, and he backed up here, and he'll go for a break now. But he was too good for these. As you say, when the pressure was on in the straight, Shorty, his class kicked in, and he strode clear to win by just over 3 lengths. So he's better than those. We now know he handles heavy ground well. He'll be a good type in the spring. He's looking towards races such as the Coolmore, which would be interesting down the straight there at Flemington. So I reckon we've got a cracking future crop of 3-year-olds coming up next season.
Yeah, agree there. Into the Adrian Knox, race number 4. Riley Morgan found this one. It was a big go late, wasn't it, in the World Pools. Good banter. John O'Shea and Jamie Carr having a great run. John O'Shea just beats Autumn Angel, and then Concello back in third.
Yeah, and probably won't kick on to the Oaks next week at this stage. They're looking at perhaps Queensland, which is terrific news for us up here. For good banter, who really, she'd been putting the writing on the wall, Marty. Her last couple of runs, all she wanted was distance. They were over 1,600, etc., and she got that distance. So you knew when she duelled with Autumn Angel late, she was going to give plenty in the run to the line, and she did. So she got there by just over half a length. Autumn Angel, first run for a month. Very good effort. I would say it goes to the Oaks next week. And Concello was the one that caught the eye late. No surprise here. Chris Waller trains this filly. Big improver stepping up in trip. I'd say you'd probably see her in the Oaks as well. But whether they can match it with Orchestral, those other two, they're not good banter. I would not think so.
All right, moving on to race number 6, the Group 1 English Sires. And we did speak to Michael Freedman. This was outstanding in the slipper, Chris. When we spoke to you after Slipper Day, you did say this is the horse that had the flashing lights on it heading towards the Sires, and that proved to be the case there yesterday.
Yeah, it was a good race. It was always going to be a good race. Manoa was just too strong for them late. She took her time getting there. She was right out the back. She had the back of Storm Boy once they hit the home turn, and she was able to reel in Traffic Warden late. Traffic Warden was terrific because he was up on speed throughout. He was outside the leader and Node. He gave plenty, and the margin, as we know, wasn't much on the line. It was a very tight photo finish. So I think Manoa's worth following. Obviously, she'd go to the Champagne. Traffic Warden, I'm not sure where he'll go, but he was very good. Coleman was with Manoa at the 400-metre mark. Just couldn't quite go with her. You think he'd go for a break. Storm Boy, the big talking point, well, look, he was 4 wide, no cover. He's come to the end of probably a pretty long campaign. He did win the Magic Millions, as we know. He was up before the Magic Millions. I don't think he shirked his task at all in the straight. He just didn't have the dash. And look, that's excusable when you sit 4 wide and no cover.
Now, the second of the Group 1's the TJ Smith Stakes, taken out by Peter Moody's second string. A chain of lightning for Damien Lane. Fights off the gallant mare Bella Nipotina. I Wish I Win, and Imperatrice were finishing on into third and fourth.
Yeah, less than a length between the top 6 across the line here, so could have gone many, many different ways. But Chain of Lightning, lovely ride by Damien Lane. He sat behind the leader, Cold Crusher, and then Cold Crusher, of course, shifted off the fence into the straight. Through went Chain of Lightning, and sort of they were just going up and down in the one spot late, trying to get to Chain of Lightning, who just kept kicking and kicking and kicking and then held them all off. I Wish I Win just couldn't quite get there. Bella Nipotina was good. Imperatrice will never really look like winning, but probably closest late. The big run here, guys. Now, I don't know if you've watched the video closely, but Espiona ran 6.
Wow.
Oh, she should have won this race. There's no doubt in the world she should have won. She could not get a crack at them. Her head was sideways in the last 200 metres. I'd say she got out 50 metres from the line and she motored, and she was beaten 0.8 of a length. She was stiff.
That's in the book. And we rounded out with a look at the ATC Australian Derby. Oh, Chris, I was on Cholwolf here, and J-Mac, absolute 10 out of 10, has rocked me. It's gone down an eyelash. Riff Rocket, though. Winners win, they say, and Riff Rocket is a horse that's got that habit and turned up yesterday off that ride from J-Mac. Touch too good, Cholwolf. More often than not, performance like that would see you going home a Group 1 winner.
You were stiff, Shorty, you were. I mean, you reverse those runs and rides, and she will definitely wins the race. It's just the ride that won the race, simple as that. I mean, you could see J-Mac back second last, and he started to pick up some ground around the 600-metre mark and took all those shortcuts. The gap came, whereas the other one came wide. I don't need to tell you that, and was closing the margin on the line. It was 0.3 of a length, but as I said, Riff Rocket got the money. The other one probably should have. Glad you think so. Finished third, beaten 4 lengths. So it was a big gap back to the rest of them. Not a vintage derby. Tom Kitten, well, I've been potting him for a few runs now. He hasn't come up this prep. He just hasn't had the same dash. And there you go. So I don't think any of these are superstars. Riff Rocket's certainly a very, very good horse, and I wouldn't mind owning him. He's won 2 derbies, but maybe the other one should have won, Shorty.
Okay, well, he joins elite class here as one of only 4 horses to have won the VRC Derby and the Australian Derby. He joins Dulcify, Mahogany and Hitotsu, and delivered Chris Waller his 160th Group 1, but his first Australian Derby.
Yeah, and I was reading this morning, the only Group 1 he hasn't won in Sydney is the Canterbury Stakes.
Yeah.
So look out for that next season.
Riff Rocket, when he won the VRC Derby, he won it a nose. Remember Apulia and him, and heads up, heads down. So he's just been able to put the nose out in front where it mattered the most, and now he's got 2 derbies, so good on him.
Yeah, Shorty just said winners win, and he certainly is a winner, Riff Rocket, and he'll be back for some of the cups, I would say, in the springtime. It's
an interesting one. They asked Waller after the race, do you think he stays yet? Because I think Chris has had a little question mark over, is he a dead set stayer? And he said, well, when they get ridden like that, they tend to stay. And sort of left it open whether or not he really does think he's a genuine 1.5 mile plus horse.
Yeah, well, maybe he's had the breaks at those 2 wins. He certainly got the breaks yesterday, and I'm just trying to get my mind back to the VRC Derby. He came sweeping down the outside. So I would have thought that was a fairly good effort for a 2,500-metre race, but as I said before, Marty, Chris Waller's trained a few more winners than I have, so I'm more than happy to go to what he says.
Well, the other thing is he's got, which is wonderful as a trainer, his options. Let's not forget, only a few starts ago, this horse came out and won the CSA's stakes over 1,400 metres. So it's a versatile galloper that's, as a trainer, you must just rub your hands together and say, well, if I don't think it's a pure 1.5 mile horse, we've got anywhere from 14 to sort of 1,800 to operate with plenty of big money races up our sleeve anyway.
Yeah, that's true. And then he went around the Australian Guineas and was probably unlucky there, buried away on the fence. So, yeah, he's done nothing wrong. But I don't think, as I say, I think they're a vintage crop. They certainly weren't yesterday, but you can only win, and he certainly did that.
Plenty to look forward to next week, day 2 of the championships. You've got the Queen Elizabeth Stakes, Group 1 2000, the Sydney Cup over the 3,200, the Australian Oaks 2,400, and the Queen of the Turf over the mile. They're the 4 Group 1s.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if it rains, Marty. It can rain every day for the whole week and we get 200 mils. We know we'll still race on Saturday at Randwick, so that's good news.
That's just phenomenal. And I tell you, I was really looking forward to the race day yesterday, and I must admit, on Friday night I was sort of going through, doing a bit of the form, thinking to myself, what are you doing this for? You're 1,000,000 to 1, surely. And woke up there yesterday. Matty McDermott, you catch up with him on a Saturday morning here on TAB Radio, Chris, and one of the first things he had to say as soon as he was on air, punters, it's on, get yourselves ready. And I thought, beautiful, we're on. But I did expect it to be, a 10. And back to and to be fair, the race, the track itself, it Beautiful. Really did give pretty much all runners every opportunity right throughout the course of the day. As you said, might have chopped up a little bit on the inside late, but for most of the part was a very fair, even surface.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I got up in the morning and they were racing number one. And then I saw a couple of snippets from a couple of people on track that were on social media, Jason Richardson and Corey Brown, and they were both saying, how good was this track? And Corey Brown was saying it's probably in the soft range when it was a heavy 9 or 10. And they walked it. It wasn't squelching. It seemed to be in terrific condition. And it just got better during the day. And as you say, Shorty, it was fair. Maybe a couple of races I thought, the inside's no good, but it might have been the horses that just didn't handle any sort of give in the ground. But I thought it played really well. And that's just and there you go. I mean, just don't want to take up too much of your time, but natural rainfall versus watering tracks, and we had an even sort of track. There you go. There's a lesson there for all of us. We do overwater the tracks in the southern states.
Okay, Chris, what about horses to follow? Then we're on the Sunshine Coast Synthetic today. Have we got a winner there?
Yeah, it's raining again, just something new. Follow out of... we didn't touch on race 3, but I've worked this horse out now, Tannhauser. He needs a little bit further than 1,600 metres, and I think he's a wet tracker. So just follow him going forward. Tannhauser and Espiona in that in the 7th race there was a good thing beaten. So we follow her. Sunny Coast today on the Poly. Race 1, number 5. Race 2, number 4. And race 4, number 1. I think they'll all go close. And the multi I checked a minute or so ago on Tab Touch was about $12.
Beautifully done, Chris. We'll listen in during the week on the Sports Daily.
Thanks, guys. Have a great Sunday.
10 away from 7. Black shorts on at Caulfield yesterday for Racetrack Ralphy from racetrackralphy.com. A very good morning.
Good morning, boys. Yeah, just a little off-season meeting. Obviously, the focus was on Sydney yesterday, but I think there's a few winners we can find for the punters going forward.
Beautiful. Let's work through top to tail. Race number 1 and Ferose getting the job done. Billy Egan aboard, defeated Perspiration and Bisdee.
Yeah, it exploded at Pakenham in its previous start early. Really good early speed. Yesterday, there's a bit of a mid-race slowdown, and I should add that the track played genuinely soft prior to the 600-metre mark on all races, so that's reflective of the drainage on the course because there was heavy rain early in the week. But, yeah, and it got out to a silly price. I think it's probably reflective of the big teams don't generally give you a point or two on small stables, and this was Dominic Sutton's first city winner, so good on him. I think we've got to rest from a black book perspective, but yeah, good start to the day for those who followed the Pakenham form in.
Second event over the 2,000 metres. It was Akira and Marquinella. Desperado beats Berkshire Breeze.
Yeah, not bad figures here, but I think this is one of the real strong black bookers of the day, which is Verifier, but at Flemington. He's a big track horse, had no idea what he was doing early. He's made his only win, I think it's the only win to date, was at Flemington. He'll be going back there, and the only other track I'd be keen to be with him would be like Sandown Hillside, but I don't know if there's any Saturday meetings there. But on a big track, this horse is absolutely ready, 2,000, maybe even 2,400, 2,500.
All right, on to race number 3 over the 1,200 metres, a benchmark 70. Tommy Stockdale getting the job done for Philip Stokes here with Oracle Sun, defeating Buse and also Nation State. Buse got back and was the flashing lights performance, rattling home late.
Cool. Yeah, well, you boys know I don't normally jump onto those, but when they run the best last 800, 600, 400 and 200 a day, this horse was it was negatively ridden. I get why. It was first up and from a wide barrier, but ultimately it just was in an effective non-winning position from there. Couldn't have done much more under that circumstance. Would love to see him back to Flemington where he ran well on Turnbull Stakes Day, and I think he's going to take a power of beating going forward. So I've got Vince Cardi's figures through too, which is great. So that just gives me complete confirmation of what we saw there. It should have won yesterday. It didn't, just missed. Oracle Sun was in the perfect position, but I think Buse going up to Flemington Straight would be perfect for it.
Okay, and the 4th event over the 1,200, Inhibitions grabbed Moesha right on the post. Miss Aria back in 3rd.
Punters are funny people sometimes, aren't we? And God bless it on this occasion. This is a horse who'd been starting favourite, or at least deep in the market in stakes races, gets to a basic open standard open handicap and against fellow fillies, and ended up being quite a good price. I think the first 3 here we could all follow for different reasons, and Inhibitions will just remain consistent. Moesha going forward after going back at Moonee Valley. And like I said, allowing for the track being significantly softer then, just gassed out that last little bit, but really good proactive ride from Linda Mead. She's going to be hard to beat. And Miss Aria, it's just got a big, powerful finish on it. They put the money on it at the Heath meeting. I think that was the first Heath meeting they had. And it was very strong over 1,000, strong again at 1,200. This horse relaxes. I think she's in for her best prep yet. So I think we'll follow the first three with a bit of confidence.
Very nice, Ralphy. You reckon I wasn't loving life there. It went from Buse in race number 3 to Mo Escher in race number 4. And you reckon the old Stones weren't copping a fair old kick on the way across the road there. On to race number 5, benchmark 70. Jaconi arriving at a nice price here for Harry Coffey, defeating Jabberwockies and Russian Meteor.
Yeah, perfect ride too by Harry getting into the right lanes on the day. But, basic benchmark 70, as you mentioned. I think they all take turns in this class and wouldn't be stamping any of these going forward.
Okay, in the next race, it was their turn to salute Legacy's wins here for Moody Coleman, Luke Nolan.
Yeah, Nolan on a leader of Peter Moody's. That's won a few races over the journey, hasn't it? So, gave it every chance, and it was too good. Tell you what, this splashback, I'm very interested in this horse going forward.
Bobbin.
It showed a really big finish at Sandown when it got the money there, and then that was first up. It's lightly raced. Yesterday, I'd say it's in a non-winning position from where it was, and no criticism of the ride. It's just the horse's relaxed pattern early, but very, very strong, and also hard against the fence, which was not A1, but that's the run Harry Coffey had to take. So I think it's going to run through its classes, this horse, and we can follow it with a bit of confidence at this time of year. Splashback.
The listed Elvis Thurgood Galilee Series final over the 2,400 metres, and here we saw Antrim Coast being touted as the winner in the home straight, but it was Gold Wolf. This was a big result for David and Coral Feek and Neil Farley. It was tribute paid to Neil Farley and the way that he knew how to ride this horse and just be in charge of the horse. It was a really interesting interview post-race with David Feek, but a special win for them. It was a big price, knocking off the favourite, Antrim Coast.
Yeah, and a risk of poking the bear, Shorty. My list of the 3 double things yesterday were Fremantle players descending with the umpires, Amelia's dual punters who took odds on it on a lead-up price, and Gold Wolf. This horse has no idea what it's doing
at all.
Enough to win. It's absolutely wandering everywhere. So good on Neil Farley for getting in the right bob in. I got the pace wrong here pre-race. I thought they might just saunter out. They flew. Now, what happens when they fly? You want horses with miles and legs. And I know this is a hindsight filter afterwards, but the first 4 in the finish, it all had runs beyond 2,000. Sunsets and Apulia, the best horses in the race, they hadn't. So they've gone from a high-pressure 2,000 to a high-pressure 2,400, just busted both open. I think Sunsets is really on track for the South Australian Derby. But, yeah, Gold Wolf, he's got a bit of talent, this horse, but he just has no idea what he's doing.
Race 8, the Victoria Handicap, 1,400 Group 3. Here to shock wins for Hayes Boys, and Daniel Stackhouse had a good day.
Yeah, he's fantastic. As soon as the big dogs go up north, he just fills up Daniel Stackhouse down here. And this is a classic case of setting your horse for a race compared to end of prep. And those who wanted to take the short price Buffalo River, well, good luck to you. But it didn't lead. The reason it didn't lead was it was flat as a pancake from chasing Pride and Jenny a couple of weeks earlier. That's just 3 weeks earlier, whatever it was. But I think he's had enough for the prep. But conversely, Here to Shock and Sione, both second up, both set the peak, and they did. They ran 1-2. Sione just back to mares or just something slightly easier. She'll be winning a heap of races this prep. And I think Globe is absolutely spot on next start. That was the perfect blowout run for it.
All righty, on to race number 9, Group 3, Easter Cup. Captain Envious at a big price for Tommy Stockdale. Made it a big day in the saddle for him. Defeated Jenny Lala and Deny Knowledge. Yeah,
well, it was good at the 400. I knew my quaddie was confetti, but it was a good result because I had that a little bit of that first leg at 40s. But Captain Envious was just trucking, wasn't it? So it just had to take that gap, and it did. So really brave ride there on Captain Envious by Tommy Stockdale. And this is a horse with talent. I just thought it needed one more run. Its Ballarat Cup win was good. It's set for the Warrnambool Cup. Of yesterday's winners, this is one you really want to be sticking with because he's a stayer with really good talent and loves wet ground. Deny Knowledge was terrific. She's ready to hang on next start too.
And again, the last...
Nothing from the last 3 days. The winner to follow from the meeting was Captain Envious, but for those going forward, Verifier, Splashback, and Globe, big circle around Globe. It's ready.
D's keep winning. Brisbane next week.
Yes, well, we still haven't beaten anyone above us on the ladder, but we're going all right. Very happy.
I'm loving the gather round as well, Ralphie. Nice of you to just play that into a bit of form there last weekend.
Yeah, look, it was fantastic, and that is an absolute concept that's a complete winner, so good on everyone involved there.
Thanks, Ralphie.
Good on you, boys.
On The Aftermath, it's time to introduce the 1985 Brownlow medalist from the Footscray Football Club, Brad Hardie. Introducing the boy from Hilton, the AFL guru, Brad Hardie.
Morning, Bradley. Morning, Marty. Good morning, Shorty. I had one of those big multis going yesterday, Shorty. I just wish Antrim Coast had gone a little bit earlier, Mart, in the 2,400 metre race. That would have been good.
One of those days, Bradley. There's a lot of silver medals, unfortunately, my part of town. But never mind. Character building days, they call them. And speaking of character building, there's a few Freo fans that built some character there yesterday. What went on the last 45 seconds of that game? Let's go straight to it. It's the game that many are talking about. It was controversial the last 40 seconds. I like the way that Justin Longmuir has handled this, though. He got on the front foot afterwards and said, we've got to be better than wanting to argue with umpires. They're not going to change their decision. As a football club, we've got to learn and grow. And I like the fact that he's taken that mentality.
Yeah, true. And it's a frustrating caper time. We get emotional, close games. Things don't quite go your way. But look, I don't want to be nasty, but you can't bleat. It's not a scoring opportunity. It was a kick that was a mark. If it had gone through for a score, absolutely, then you've got a case, and they would have rolled it back. But because it was just a general play, it doesn't come into it. So until they have a captain's call, which I hope it never comes in, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But unless they have a captain's call and you challenge, you can't do anything about it. And post the goal going through, they still had time to win the game.
Yep.
And you've just got to. I know it's hard at times in the moment, but you've just got to keep your gob shut, particularly with umpires being mic'd up. We've talked about this before, Marty. I don't want the umpires to have the mics open, all the time. Have them open for the broadcaster, and if it's worthwhile replaying sometime later, for whatever reason, yep. But when you're Johnny on the spot, it's too hard. You can't siphon it off. So, yeah. And we're talking about one today with Jeremy Finlayson, aren't we? Which got caught on the umpire's mic. So, yeah, it's a harsh lesson. But yeah, look, it was it was a low scoring game, wasn't it? It started to break open a little bit late, and Carlton got a little bit of Collingwood about them, Marty.
Certainly have the imponderables.
They just keep finding those sliding door moments.
No, you can't measure it, can you? But they've got it, and we suspected they had it, and they keep winning these tidies, just like the Pies did over the last couple of years, and it's worth something. It is worth a lot.
Well, as we say, Fremantle's first 3 weeks were pretty good. They won the games, and you thought, well, they're not in the best of form. They're going okay, but they can get better, and they were terrific again yesterday. But people won't care about that in round 18. You know what I mean? You just got to keep banking the 4 points, and it just makes it a little tough going next week into Port Adelaide, Shorty, before they come back for the Derby. So, but they're still in healthy shape, and some of the results are still going the right way for them. So, from that point of view, and we can go back to Thursday, get out of the way. Brisbane way too good. Very disappointed in North Melbourne, to be honest, boys. But Brisbane are on the board, and we'll see where they can. But they've still got a very hard 3 weeks coming up, Shorty, Brisbane Lions. So they're not out of the woods yet.
No, and the other thing, just from a punting perspective and a football lover's perspective, when you watch games now against North Melbourne, you can see they've got a distinct issue down back. They struggle with the big tall key forwards. And yesterday we saw, or on Friday we saw that Danaher with 5, Hipwood with 3. Neither of them had been in outstanding form. But there's an emerging trend here. When you play against North Melbourne, your big two up front, size-wise, are in for pretty big days in front of the big sticks.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they're going to cover that up, to be honest. It's not going to be easy, and Mackay's gone to Essendon, and look, he was been okay without being great, but you just can't find those big body defenders. The Dogs are trying to develop one at the moment. Shorty and Karmas, Liam Jones, and they need another one. There's a few out there that need them. I mean, some of the best sides have generally got those key posts either at the front or the back, or in some cases both ends of the ground, and you sorely need them because there's one thing you've got to be able to defend, and the other end you've got to be able to attack. It's simple as that.
Yeah, it opened up on Thursday night with Melbourne too good for Adelaide, who are really struggling. I thought it was a better game for Adelaide if you looked at their first four, but Melbourne are the talking point out of this match. They just continue to win.
Yeah, they're doing enough, aren't they? I mean, they're top 5 or 6 quality, aren't they? When they go into any team, and they'll be sort of Hall of Famers for the Melbourne Footy Club. When you talk about Gorn, Petrarca, Oliver, May, Lever, just to mention a few. I mean, that's a pretty handy glue, I call it, Shorty, as you know. You've got to have the glue, and you stick the little bits around them to try and make them. And those blokes are performing. Oliver was quiet the other night, but he's going all right. Adelaide, I'm not sure. They invested heavily forward of the centre last year, and we lauded them for that because it was working. Their ball movement was very, very quick from back to forward. They slowed down extremely. Not just a little bit, a lot. And I don't understand that. They talk about their vanilla midfield. I don't necessarily agree with that. But if they use the ball well, and the ball speed is much quicker than people's legs anyway. But, Crouch, Laird, Jordan Dawson was better the other day. Keys, they've moved out already. Rory Sloane's not really in the mix anymore. They've just got to try and find a little bit more, perhaps off a half-back flank. Smith getting a little older. They've just got to come up with something because, again, they travel to the East Coast this weekend to take on Carlton at Marvel, which is no easy feat.
A little bit of self-preservation happening there at Adelaide from what I can see. So they're heavily invested in 2 young men, Rochelle and also Isaac Rankin. I saw on no less than 4 or 5 times in big moments of that game there, they were getting in each other's way. They were getting in the way of Tex on a couple of occasions. Tex was one out on a lead, almost set to take a mark, and one of those 2 guys ghosted in front of him. Boom, they spill it. Tex is going, well, how about you just stay over there, give me a little bit of room to operate. You guys stay at ground level. You might be able to feed off me. They're talented players, Brad, but they've got to learn to play with each other.
Oh, yeah, I talk about it all the time. I talk about it with the Dogs, with Waitman as well. Sometimes when you get a little bit anxious, you get under the feet too early. What you got to do, as you say, Shorty, hold your ground, tread your water, run your angles, start from the side, start from the back, follow the lead, come from the front, mix it up. At the moment, they both want to get under the feet or in front of Tex. And it's not working. I mean, because even if they win the ball, they've got to be miraculous to try and get it on the boot or get out of trouble, and it's not working for them. So, they've just got to work harder and smarter.
Gee, we saw some class on Friday night. Port, that midfield, with Horn Francis back in there. Wow.
Hasn't he got some power out of the stoppage?
Well, it's expected, but not before time, as we said. We pegged him well early. As I said, when he was at North, remember I said, Marty, I said he's a walker. Yep. And what I meant by that, Shorty, was that he would go to a contest and then he'd walk. Where the good ones don't. They get a tank. He's got a tank now, and he can run and he can get away, as you say. He couldn't do that 18 months ago. And that comes with growth, and he's starting to do that well. But, Rosie and Butters and they're playing extremely good. And the underrated one is Drew. As I said, he not only sits on the best player for the opposition, he works off him, and they go through him. And he's getting 20 plus and, occasionally hitting the scoreboard and whatever. He's a bit of a weapon. He's a bit of a conduit, as I used to call young Jones at West Coast many years ago when they were going okay. So he's the one that gets under the radar from that point of view. And their forward structure is better when those guys are on fire.
Great to see Mitch Georgiades back out there as well. The young man, he's had a lot of injury problems. Brad, he would have had some pretty tough times in rehab in recent years, but great to see him back out there and getting an opportunity.
Well, it's not easy just to snap on. I mean, you got to have a little bit of character about you, and he's got that, obviously, because when you're out of the game for such a long period of time, you get set in your ways, and you go through the motions. You're trying to be upbeat. You really want to be out there. Time's not your friend. you're out for 12 months. So it's a long way back, let's face it. But to come back and get involved, and he made a few mistakes, which is great, because at least he's getting the footy. And, he dropped a couple of marks and, he sprayed a couple and all of that sort of stuff. And that's fine. But at least he's back in his niche mark there in the forward line, and along there with the forward line, including Dixon and Marshall. He's a really good third wingman.
Eagle showed a bit against Sydney there at Mount Barker, 104-78.
Well, we've been saying it all along, and we'll give credit where credit's due. Stop this negativity of the style of play. Have a go. Get outscored, so be it. That 9 goal scorers yesterday, Shorty, which was terrific. And you're hitting the scoreboard, and then your fans and your members and the like can see, okay, right, we're having a go. None of this, they had a really good second quarter, didn't they? They kicked 5, and they struggled a little bit thereafter because Sydney just had to get it done, a bit like Fremantle have done a couple of times as well this year. You just get it done. They were a bit lazy, a bit laconic, weren't working as hard as they needed to. Eventually, I'm sure John Longmire kicked them into gear and said, hey, pull your shocks up, boys, because otherwise you're leaving yourself open to being caught out here. And but it was good. So for that point of view, they'd be pleased with that. It's a small baby step. And they've got a real opportunity, one would suspect, playing Richmond next week at home. If they're ever going to win a game, it's got to be that one.
Yeah, it was the best game so far we've seen from Harley Reid. But 2 guys that deserve enormous credit for West Coast. And, look, I know that they've been there and done it. But Elliot Yeo and Jeremy McGovern right now, they have done a super job. McGovern down back, he's just been a brick wall right the way through. So much rebounding off half back, and he's been just a giant setting up their defence. And Elliot Yeo, look, I think sometimes when guys are on the sidelines for a significant period, you can sometimes forget how good they can be. Elliot Yeo this season, he's going as well as ever, and we know his best football's elite. He's the number 1 mid on the ground right now when West Coast are playing, and he's getting the best opponent from the opposition, but he's continuing to shine. He's outstanding.
Well, at least even late last year, remember, he had about a dozen disposals in one quarter at Optus there, and you thought, geez, if this bloke could get his body right, that would be really, really, really handy. There's no doubt he's a gun, but you look at the top end, Duggan, Yeo, McGovern, week in, week out this year, even in the face of adversity, they've been very good. Tim Kelly's dropped off a little bit, which is okay because you need to try and find others, to step up into the breach because he's not going to be part of their next grand finals tilt, I wouldn't have thought. But, from that point of view, and as you said, Reid, a little bit better. Get ball on boot more. That's what we wanted to see. He'd had 4 kicks the previous 2 weeks. Put him around the ball. He's got good core strength. He's got good low centre of gravity. Kicked a nice goal. Sort of looked like he was sort of just starting to get the penny to drop. So, they got a couple of little green shoots out of that yesterday.
Final game to look at, and it was Geelong, too good, 95. Bulldogs just coming up short, 91.
Yeah, frustrating. I thought, the Dogs would hang in there all the way. People were, think, we're gone again, we're gone. But they were just there. They were enormous, the Cats. They played really well. Even though they didn't win as many clearances and as much free ball, outside ball, they really concentrated on, closing down the Bulldogs' ball movement as such. And again, nothing from Norton. Ugle-Hagan missed a couple of sitters. So from that point of view, and same as Fremantle, mate, a bit of a sketchy one there with Stengel. Seriously, he marked that at the first row, but the game ends up being a kick between them. But the green shoots there were there for the Bulldogs because Darcy's kid was very good, Shorty.
Excellent.
The other boy down the bottom there, Gallagher, was pretty good. I like what I saw from Sanders. Grew another leg, 20-odd disposals. So from that point of view, that they'll be buoyed by that. But, again, the Guns got all the footy, didn't they? Libba, Treloar, Bontempelli, they were enormous and couldn't win. But I wasn't upset about what I saw last night with the Dogs. And to their credit, Geelong to win twice in 5 days, as Melbourne did. That's a good effort. And they've got a couple of good ones coming through too. They really are. A couple of those boys are really starting to find their feet. De Conning, we know a little bit about. I think Henry. There's a few others in there that they've got. That's probably as good a game as I've seen him play. Dempsey. Clark. Yeah, they got a few to work with. So
They put themselves in a good space, Geelong. I was worried about them this year, and with a lot of those home games to come, they look like they're going to be definitely top 8 material from here.
Brad, I was worried about Geelong because, we keep going on about their ageing list. You look through their midfield, and all of a sudden, Dangerfield's out, Guthrie's out. They have found ways to get the ball and get going, but it's the young talent at Geelong that they've really stepped up and made a big difference to their side. Marty's just mentioned a number of them. Tanner Bruin, Jai Clark, we've got Jack Henry, who they picked up in recent times. Brian Myers has taken his game to another level this season. Parfitt's come in and been a tackling machine and really upped his workload and work rate within a game. Close has stepped up his game. Ollie Dempsey's a young player that's going really well. Max Holmes has really improved his game out of sight. So it's all these young guys that aren't necessarily in years gone by the important players for them that have really they've regenerated so quickly.
Well, they've always had big raps on Holmes, and he's starting to come through, and as you say, but it's, they've got the likes of Blixarves, the taller ones, the 6'5"ers, 6'6"ers who are getting around the ground. We thought that we're going to get that out of Essendon a few years ago, didn't we, Marty, with Cox and a few of those, but it hasn't quite eventuated. But they've got good body size and they've got speed, and their skill level's pretty good too. So, Hawkins well held. Jeremy Cameron got on his bike last night. Too much. As I say, they just you've got to apply something on those sort of blokes. You can't allow blokes of that quality to get. Even at half time, I was worried. I got a call from a great mate, Laurie Colliver, who was working for AW, and he said, "What do you think?" I said, Cameron's the one that's hurting us. He said, he's only kicked the goal. I said, yeah, but it's everything else he's doing. He's set it up so much. He's just too good a player. When you need someone to run with him, they would have been better off going Bailey-Dale, just sacrifice your game, run with him, stay with him, and try and shut him out of the game, not just zone off and wait for the ball to come in.
The one I would have stopped is Myers. He's the one. He uses the
damaging. So damaging.
The high half forward, isn't he? High half forward, extra midfielder. Yeah. They've done that now. They've worked that out. They never used to do that, to be honest, Geelong. They relied on Dangerfield and Guthrie and those sort of blokes to make sure they had plenty of ball coming in. But now they've got that guy who goes up. And to be honest, that's where guys from teams, including the Bulldogs last night, erred, because they allowed him to suck up into be the extra midfielder around the ball, and he's deadly with that right boot of his, even though he's got a very eccentric kicking style.
Retrovision text line. Let's kick it off. Lisa Vallenbrook, a very good morning, and she's enjoying Gather Round. She thinks it should stay in South Australia. So popular with the fans. All accommodation is booked out for next year. Guys, just goes to show any team gettable on the day, as Sydney found out yesterday. Pleasing to see the Eagles having a go, especially in the second quarter. They now need to back it up next week at home against Richmond. Freo, Carlton, very scrappy game, low-scoring game, hence the skill errors and ending in controversy. Brad, can you explain that one, please? Well, you already have. Take care, have a great week. And then there's another one here, Brad. He thinks, this is Frank of Queen's Park, he thinks it's all bull dust. We will still be remembering this loss in round 18. And he's obviously talking about the Fremantle Dockers against Carlton.
No, look, you always trace back, Frank. You always trace back woulda, coulda, shoulda. I mean, there was a lot of clubs who've done that. Frank, just speaking from experience, the Dogs last year lost 5 or 6 games by less than a kick. So you do reflect on that at the end of the season, Frank. But this one will move on. I wasn't talking about that game. I was talking more about the Sydney Swans beating the West Coast Eagles by 26 points. No one's going to remember that. When in round 18, they've just got the 4 points. That's my point. It's nothing to do with Fremantle. It's not a knock on Fremantle. Just the way that Carlton have found a way to win the close ones, and that's you learn more, don't you, Shorty, out of losing than you do winning. I assure you of that.
I think Freo will, no doubt about that. And I think long term as well, there's a couple of young guys that will get a lot out of that game that have got a fair bit of improving left in them. Let's have a look at the games today, Bradley. Gold Coast, $3.60. The Giants, $1.29. They've been our best back team at Tab Touch this week, in from $1.40 on opening. That line's out to 21.5.
Yeah, well, I've been bullish, and I still am. I still think they've got a little bit to offer, the Gold Coast, but not today. I think when he came into the club, Marty, he said 80% of the next premiership side was there. Well, I think he's worked out the 20% who aren't there because they're not in the team today. was it 5 or 6 changes, Shorty? I think it was 6, wasn't it?
I love
this.
I reckon it's a statement early on in his time as coach, and a bunch of these guys have probably been getting a free ride for a little while, and he has gone whack. No more of that.
That's right.
No more of that.
You might have to take your medicine today with a big review to going forward. I think the Giants arguably up there with the top 2 or 3 teams in the competition right now, and I don't think that they'll let this slip. I think the Giants will win comfortably.
Max King back at St Kilda. Will that get him over the line against Richmond? $1.35, Tigers $3.15, line 8.5, 18.5.
They should. I'm worried about Richmond having their moment in the sun last week and again losing players, including Lynch. It doesn't. But Marty, you and I were talking about that strange ground at Norwood. You saw it for yourself the other night. It was a very odd one. So St Kilda play a bit straighter than Richmond, and I think that's going to be the difference because St Kilda will go forward with confidence. We're thinking at Richmond, I'm not sure where their confidence levels come going into their forward line. So I think it's a good day for St Kilda.
All right, and the final game, Collingwood $1.24 in from 125. Hawks out to 4.10. That line 26.5. Hawthorn have had a very good recent record against Collingwood.
Yeah, and Shorty, you haven't spoken to you in a couple of weeks, but Marty and I were talking about it. Good on Sam Mitchell because the week before, not last week, the week before, his coaching was abysmal. That first quarter, we had no idea what he was doing, and the players had no idea what they were doing. But to his credit, he changed straight away. He said, well, that's up Shite Creek, not doing that again. And he changed it, and he got it right. And they were pretty competitive, although they got beat in the end by Geelong the other day. And they do worry Collingwood, but I think Collingwood will they can't come out today and not back up what they did against Brisbane. The ferocity, the intensity, the urgency has got to be there again today. And I suspect they'll start that. We're probably going with Maynard on to Ginnivan just to try and keep him, give him a bit of a rev up. So I'm thinking Collingwood should be winning this, but they're short enough in the market, aren't they?
Oh, they are short enough, but they should be winning. $1.24, Hawthorn 4.10. Brad, always enjoy your company on a Sunday morning on the Aftermath for Retrovision Loans 1, 2, 3 and all the gang. You're back again tomorrow morning on the Sports Daily.
Yes, very good morning to Morts and the new nut. 1-800-100-100. He can do things the banks can't, boys. And we'll look forward to today's game and what's coming forward in the next few weeks. Should be a beauty.
Thanks, Bradley.
See you, boys.
On the Aftermath, you're listening to Marty Young and David Shortte right here on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Yes, and joining us is Simon Hill. A very good morning.
Morning, guys.
Nice to be catching up with you, Simon. Let's catch up with all of the latest when it comes to the Premier League. There's been lots going on in that space in recent time. We can go through these fixtures and results from the last little piece. Kicking off with a very, very active Man City. You would have been happy with this result. Plenty of balls finding their way to the back of the onion bag. 4-2 winners over Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I was in Melbourne overnight, covered the A-League, of course, last night, the Melbourne Derby, which we'll get on to talk about. And I stayed up to watch this one, so I'm a little bit worse for wear this morning. But City got the job done, which, of course, they need to do with the other two at the top, Arsenal and Liverpool, continuing to win. They fell behind early on, Jean-Philippe Mateta, after only a few minutes on the clock, and that's been a bit of a habit for City in certain games this season, but they showed their quality, particularly in the second half. Got back level. Kevin De Bruyne scored his 100th City goal, and if you haven't seen it, have a look at it on YouTube or wherever you can find it. It's an absolute peach of a strike, right in the top corner where the Spiders live. And from that moment on, City didn't really look back. De Bruyne added a second. Rico Lewis got City's nose in front, in fact, just after the restart. Erling Haaland added one again. Before Odsonne Edouard reduced the deficit late on. So City doing what they have to do. Good preparation for the Champions League quarter-final, which is against Real Madrid, or at least the first leg of it this week at the Bernabeu. So Pep Guardiola rotating his squad somewhat, but still good enough to get the 3 points against Palace.
Plenty of goals. Villa, Brentford, 3-3 in the end after Villa led 1-0 at half-time.
They actually led 2-0 pretty late in the game, and then 3 goals in 9 minutes for Brentford. Turned things around. Martin Jorgensen, Brian Mbeumo and Johan Wissa, after Ollie Watkins and Morgan Rogers had put Villa 2-0 in front. Ollie Watkins, second of the game, rescuing a point for Aston Villa. He's having a great season, 18 goals, 10 assists. But all that means that it's advantage Tottenham in the race for that fourth position. Spurs still 3 points behind Villa, but they've now got 2 games in hand. So Aston Villa will see that as 2 points dropped. And, it's advantage Ange Postecoglou for fourth at least.
Yeah, it's a good result for Ange and the Tottenham crew. On to the Everton-Burnley game here. And, the Toffees would have been happy with the 3 points out of this game. As we know, there's a bit still to play out in regards to penalties and the like, but every 3 they can bank, very valuable for Everton right now.
Well, absolutely. This was the end of a 13-game winless streak, which I think is the longest in their history, certainly in modern history anyway. And I think this quote from their manager, Sean Dyche, sums it up against his old club, of course. He said, we designed an ugly win and it worked. And that's basically what it was. Dominic Calvert-Lewin with the only goal, first half stoppage time. An error by Muric, the Burnley goalkeeper, which Everton pounced upon. Burnley also finished with 10 men. Dara O'Shea sent off. They're in the bottom 3. I can't see Burnley getting out of trouble, but that keeps Everton's heads above water. And they are 4 points now ahead of Luton, who are in that third and final relegation spot. So big 3 points there for the Toffees.
Okay, Newcastle were able to beat Fulham away 1-0.
Yeah, Bruno Guimaraes with the winner, his fourth of the season on 81 minutes, which keeps Newcastle in touch with the race for the top 6. They're only a point behind Manchester United in 6th, having played a game more. Injuries, of course, have really stymied Eddie Howe's season for Newcastle, but a nice late revival, and they could yet just sneak a place in Europe. Conversely, I think that's probably the end of Fulham's dreams of getting into European competition next season. But a big 3 points for Newcastle in London, which is a city where they traditionally struggle a bit.
90th minute, Morris was able to get the ball into the back of the onion bag for Luton to take a 2-1 win over the Cherries.
Yes, huge win this for the Hatters. Carlton Morris, as you say, striking in the 90th minute to end a run of 10 matches without a win for Luton, which gives them hope. They're still in the bottom 3 on goal difference behind Nottingham Forest, but they've given themselves a big chance. Bournemouth took the lead in this. Marcus Tavernier with the opener, Jordan Clark getting an equaliser on 73 minutes, but Luton managing to find a way. The only problem is their next game is away to Manchester City, so you can't see them getting much more than a cup of tea from that trip to the Etihad.
And, that is correct. And then the Ammers were able to beat Wolves away 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1 for West Ham. A game of 2 penalties this. Pablo Sarabia putting Wolves ahead from the spot. Lucas Paqueta with the equaliser. And then James Ward-Prowse, who, if you don't know, is a real set-piece specialist. He scores a lot of goals from free kicks. Well, he scored this one direct from a corner in the 84th minute to give West Ham the win. The only cloud for West Ham, a bit of an injury scare around Jared Bowen. It looks as though he's going to be out for some time. As for Wolves, they thought they'd equalised in the 99th minute, but it was rather controversially ruled out for an offside, a player ruled to be in the line of sight of the goalkeeper, which is always a contentious one. But 2-1 for West Ham.
And we saw the Gunners, no sweat for them, 3-0 winners over the Seagulls, and they maintain that spot right now at the head of the table, albeit narrowly, just by the 1 point over Liverpool and Man City.
Yeah, and, Arsenal keeps being asked the question by both Liverpool and Manchester City, and to their credit, they responded really well last night. Brighton's not an easy place to go and win. They haven't lost there at the Amex Stadium since August. But clean sheets have been the key for Arsenal, particularly on the road. That's 5 consecutive now. Goals from Bukayo Saka from the penalty spot. Kai Havertz, again, he's having a good season. And Leandro Trossard against his old club. All those goals in the second half. And Arsenal laying down the gauntlet for Liverpool, who, of course, playing that big game against Manchester United later on today.
Indeed, that should be a beauty. Market there with Tab Touch. Man U 480, draw 460, Liverpool 160. Still to come also in this round. Sheffield United 750, the draw 540. Chelsea red hot at $1.36. And rounding out with Tottenham $1.36, the draw 530, and Not Forest at $8. How do you see the three games panning out over the next couple of days there?
Well, look, the big one is Manchester United-Liverpool, arguably the biggest rivalry in English football, although United, of course, haven't been challenging in recent seasons. And this is a massive game for both. For United's top six hopes in particular at home, obviously Liverpool are going for the title, and with both Arsenal and Manchester City winning, it's vital that they keep racking up the 3 points. And this is probably their toughest fixture of their remaining matches. If they win all their remaining games, they will be the champions. And on paper, you'd say that Liverpool are strong favourites. United are having a pretty ordinary season by their standards. They suffered a late collapse against Chelsea during the week, 2-1 up with a couple of minutes to go, and they somehow contrived to lose 3-2. And they've lost only won one of the last 11 meetings against Liverpool. But the caveat is that they beat Liverpool in the FA Cup just a few short weeks ago at Old Trafford. If they play to their capabilities, Manchester United, they are capable of getting the result. So they'll need to lift for the occasion. As for the other two games, can't argue with the odds. Sheffield United are all but down. Chelsea, even though that they concede way too many goals, still they should be too good for Sheffield United, even though that match is away from home. And similarly, Spurs should be too good for Nottingham Forest at home. And again, spurred on, no pun intended, by that draw for Aston Villa. They can go back into fourth spot if they can get the 3 points. Son Heung-min in great form at the moment, 7 goals in his last 12. He's assisted 4 as well. And Forest are pretty poor on the road, only 2 wins in their last 25 road trips. So I think it all points to a Tottenham win in that one.
You mentioned the A-League. You broadcast this match. Melbourne victory 2-1 over City yesterday.
Yeah, terrific contest in front of over 20,000 at Amy Park. It was a really good derby in contrast to the first two between the two this season, which both ended goalless. Tolgay Arslan put in Melbourne City ahead after 4 minutes, and City really needed to win that game because they're 4 points outside the final spots with only 3 games to go now. But victory deserving of the 3 points, in my opinion. Bruno Fornaroli with his 18th of the season from the penalty spot after Vicente Fernandez had tripped Jason Guerrier. And then the Frenchman Damien De Silva with a late winner. So that's the final spots nailed on for Melbourne victory. A much better season than last year. And City have it all to do. They've got Perth Glory at home next, and they must win that one and hope results elsewhere go their way.
That was Central Coast nicking the points in the 91st minute, 2-1 winners over Wellington.
Yeah, they're top of the shop, Central Coast Mariners. First time this season, I think, at the end of a round. Remarkable, really, that after they won the championship last year, they lost half a team, they lost their coach, and of course they lost their first 4 games of the new season. But they have turned it around in remarkable fashion, and they go right to the end. Michael Docker with a 91st minute winner, Angel Torres before that, and Ben Old with the equaliser for Wellington. And the Mariners, I've just put this out on social media, they're now 9 matches away from a possible treble, Premiership, Championship and the AFC Cup. They're in the last round but one of that competition as well. So if they were to win all 3, I mean, you're looking at potentially the best season ever by an Australian club side. So it's remarkable, really. Small budget, smallest club in the competition, and yet somehow they keep finding a way to win. Brilliant.
Simon, we've run right out of time, but can you tell us, can Perth Glory beat Adelaide United today?
Well, they can. I mean, final hopes are realistically almost over for both. But, Glory at home, they need to give their fans something to hang their hat on for next season. And, maybe some of these kids that are coming through, Majeka Dumley got a goal last week, Daniel Benny, Alan Stajic says that's the way forward. So I hope they can get 3 points to their fans at home today.
Thanks, Simon. Always good to chat.
Cheers, guys.
Simon Hill, as he does every Sunday morning, joins us on the Aftermath. Quick break, we'll be back.
At the 450-metre pole, he's a vibe in front. Leads by a metre and a half to Opal Hunter. Bet the House. He's about to come out wider. Back on the inside is Menemsha, who can't get clear as they come to the home turn. 27.9 the next quarter, and Grievous. It got into the clear as well as finishing stylishly around the bend they run. Here's Bet the House, though. He's after Opal Hunter, and Grievous is going to close in. He's a vibe. No run Menemsha, but it's Bet the House. Racing up, hitting the front. Grievous giving chase. Opal Hunter the inside. Bet the House in front from Grievous. Menemsha finally gets through. Brilliant drive, Christopher Voak, and Bet the House wins brilliantly from Grievous and Menemsha.
It was a brilliant drive in the WA Gold Bullion for the 3-year-old Colts and Geldings. Chris Voak joins us. A very good morning, Chris.
Yeah, good morning, guys. How you going?
Very well indeed. Thank you, Vokey. Appreciate your time on this Sunday morning. Fresh off more success last night there at Narrogin. We appreciate you taking our call. Bet the House, so this is a really nice performance. And as Richie alluded to, really nice drive. Talk us through it.
Well, it actually is pretty simple, to be honest. We drew inside the back line and following out Menemsha. And, we just had to wait for opportunity to present, and the way the race unfolded with sort of a spanner in the works with He's a Vibe crossing Menemsha early. Just found myself having an opportunity to get into a better position than three back the pegs into the 1-1, and the rest of it was just smooth sailing.
There was a bit going on, though, wasn't there? Because Menemsha was tucked down on your inside looking for a run and was never going to get one by the look of it. And then when you took off 3 deep from the 1-1, Grevis was out to angle off the pegs and follow you. So that race really changed shape as you made your move just before the home bend.
Yeah, well, obviously there's maybe it dumbed it down a little bit, but sort of obviously 10 to the dozen was the main chance in the race, and perhaps had I not have been able to ease it wider, it possibly could have maybe won the race. So if you look at it in the context, it gave me a better position in the 1-1. It put one of my main opposition 3 wide with a long way to go, which probably really took it out of the race. Then nearing the 400, I could see Abe De Campo, he took a cheeky look over his shoulder to look to be getting into the clear. So I actually eased earlier to cover him so that my horse was in advance of him. And, the rest, like I said, the rest was just sort of balancing up. And I was really impressed with the horse, though, when I did ask him at the 200, just inside the furlong, he actually put him away pretty quickly and pretty easily.
Great to see you. Great resolve too for Ronnie Houston. He's been involved in the sport for a long period of time and got this horse humming this time in, come back and go on bang, 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 3 on the bounce now. How far can this horse go?
Look, I don't like to get ahead of myself, but considering he's very, very lightly raced, and that was only his 3rd run into the campaign, and I think he's a genuine Group 1 chance come Derby time and things like that. So, in my opinion, for what he's done now, and keep in mind this horse was, he's been off the scene for a long time due to a stomach illness and things like that. So, by no means is he a finished product. So, I really believe he can go all the way to win a Group 1 this year as a 3-year-old.
And posted a very good winner's mile rate there too, 152.8. And I agree, the last 100 metres when Grevis was there, Menemsha getting out, they were coming at you. To my eye, your horse put a little gap on them again on the line.
Yeah, well, when I think Menemsha would have had something to give. That being said, we were sort of 2 wide for the birdcage bend, 3 wide for the last bend, so we're covering more ground than it. But I can just see this horse. Each run this prep, he's been better and significantly better, not just half a length or a length. His win at Narrogin was terrific. He won by a margin, but possibly lesser depth in his field than he won his next start. Obviously won the heat, and then the final, and the sectional times are dropping drastically. So and he just does it so easy. That's the thing that impresses me.
We've got a big meeting to look forward to in a couple of weeks' time, Voakey, the Nullarbor, Friday the 19th of April. A lot of excitement with the Western Trilogy now just around the corner. Opportunity for some of the biggest names in Australian harness racing to be here strutting their stuff. Everybody tuned in. Make sure you get out there trackside. This is a night that I'm sure all the local industry members and all harness lovers are very much looking forward to.
Yeah, it is, Shorty. I mean, the last year was a big buzz, and I think this year we've really attracted a lot more Eastern State horses and whatever. And obviously with, Magnificent Storm not going to be there, it's sort of changed the complexion of who's going to be, I suppose, WA's next horse that could try and beat the Eastern States Raiders and things like that. But, the build-up has been terrific, and I for one, can't wait to be there, and watch what unfolds. And then you put the Fremantle Cup, and it's, the week later, there's actually a lot happening. So it'll be a terrific night. So I suggest if you're interested and got nothing to do, get down there.
Beautifully done, Chris. Thanks for coming on the Aftermath this morning. Continued success.
No worries. Thanks, mate. And you have a good day.
Cheers, Voakey.
There is Chris Voak. Waffle scores this weekend. The Mighty Bulldogs, too good for West Coast, 143 to 55. Sharkies gave it to the Monts at Claremont, 135 to 45. They bounced off their first round defeat against Peel, the Sharks, defending champs. East Perth, too good for Swans, 190 to 82. And then the Falcons put Perth back in their place after they bounced off the season with a win. West Perth 116, beating Perth 9-14-68. One game to go on today. Subi play Peel. This should be a beauty at Sullivan Logistics Stadium.
Our man Riley Morgan involved?
I think he is. He'll be coming in. He'll be involved with Racing Rewind first. And also coming in is Richie Bell. RS Bell will be giving us a hand for Racing Rewind as well. Big night last night at Cannington.
It was
ready.
Indeed.
Racing. Sunset Tyson came out fairly, then got bumped soon after the start. Go See Katoni works across, and along with it was West on Boomer. And West on Boomer finds the top up on the inside. Go See Katoni putting Manelli. They bumped, then followed by Uncle Tommy, who goes around the outside. Sunset Mirage hunts up on the inside. Deeper still was Daddy's Girl. Then Sunset Tyson. Last of all was Sneaky Emoji, but off the back, and West on Boomer out by 3 lengths. Uncle Tommy runs into second, then followed by Go See Katoni. But West on Boomer goes on and takes out the Loot Awesome Memorial. Second goes to Uncle Tommy, putting Manelli. Fourth across the line is going to be...
Well, once West on Boomer come across from box number 6, he had control of the race. Chris Halse joins us. G'day, Chris.
Good morning, Marty. Morning, Shorty.
Halse, lovely to be catching up there on this Sunday morning here on the Aftermath. Congratulations to you, Chris. This is a really nice win by West on Boomer. This greyhound had been racing really well through the classes down there at Mandurah. Brought that form back to town. It was a good quality lineup there last night in the Lou Dorsa final, and the early speed really did put it into the race and set the win up.
Yeah, look, I was surprised on Monday on the future. There was $15-16. I had a little something on them then, just each way. So although that's good for a dog that's probably going to lead. You don't normally, if you find the leader, you usually have something on them. But but I knew he could lead, and I just thought, you just need the rest of the team. And I knew the dog directly inside him wants to get down to the fence. So I thought he was riding a big show at a big price. And obviously, if you were the 1 or 2 began, you were in trouble. But the race planned out. If you couldn't have planned any better for him.
Absolutely, and the dog went on with the job from there, holding out Uncle Tommy and also putting Manelli. Been a nice dog on the way through West on Boomer. We haven't necessarily seen a stack of its real top-line stuff at Cannington, but love the way you've gone about it, just changing things up from a fixturing perspective with this dog. You've changed things up a little bit, put it over 400 at Mandurah, 488, flicked it back to Cannington. Those changes of distances and environments have really sparked this dog up and got its confidence right up.
Yeah, he's been a working project. Actually, the whole lot of just been probably a bit injury prone. That we got 4 of them, and Apple Crumble and tore triangular days. He hurt a wrist, and I think Western Astro won the night before too at Mandurah. He's one of that litter. He had a a crack in the back left hock or something like that. And it's just one of those things you're frustrating with it once you got them to the track. You like them when they can keep moving along, but he's. I wouldn't say he was probably the weaker of the lot of them too. So you just need to, by going back to 400 when it was a way of picking up, giving him sort of an easy win, then flicking him back up in distance, and then hopefully to try and get him stronger to go back to Cannington. And then if he had a hiccup again with the wrist, you dropped him back to 400 to try and go to the front. And it's just one of those things that you're sort of governed by how he's travelling at the time as well.
So what next for Weston Boomer?
Just try and get him try and put him around week in, week out over 500 at Cannington, because I think he can be a bit stronger. His brothers are winning over 600 in Melbourne, and his brother, Western Astro, I reckon he'll win over 600 as well eventually. So I just want to hopefully we get more miles in his legs and get week in, week out racing over 500, and I think he'll improve his run home.
He had a double on the night. Weston Nugget was excellent in the 715 metre free-for-all. Chris, this dog, just the last 3 or 4 weeks, really hit its straps once again here over the 700 metres. Another Tommy Shelby dog that you're having great success with. Wonderful record, track and trip. Seems to be right in the zone again at the moment, Weston Nugget.
Yeah, going back probably just before Christmas there, he was going really good. Him and Katzer for trading blows. And we took him to Mandurah, and he just hurt a left wrist at Mandurah when we took him down there over the 650. So we were just on the back burner a bit with him for a while. Then we wanted to get him ready for the Galaxy, and we could only get a 1/600 into him, and he won. And then, just pushed on, probably put him in underdone in the Galaxy, I suppose. But then again, he's come out and ran a really good race in the Consolation, so it's just putting miles in his legs. But he's the same little as Flying Frito, Booney and all that. It was good to see that he sort of put the flag, flew the flag for Booney last night, because we had to put him out a little bit of a nickel injury. So it was good to see him do that for us.
Absolutely. And, of course, we've got the Sandgroper just around the corner. Total Container Solutions and Team Britain will have Trooper Tears engaged in the big race. You'll be hoping for, hopefully, the pink rug or the black rug when this box draw comes out. That'll be the key for this dog. He's got a massive motor if he can get room to move early.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, look, he just needs to draw 6, 7, 8, and because he normally with not something crashing on his outside, probably just run to the corner, because he is quite strong as well with it. And if he can draw wide, he's in with all the better class dogs that are going around across Australia at the same time.
Marty, this dog can really run it. I think, so there was a bunch of the really good dogs. I'm pretty sure this dog went around 29.38 in a trial, and I don't think there'll be many as fast as this dog. It's just a matter of getting a clear run, Chris.
Oh, exactly, yeah. Robert's got a massive opinion of him. People staying with us for that race, they've all got a massive opinion. They just saw him trial at Geelong, and they just said that's unheard of on a trial day. So you probably just need the right draw, and the box draw is going to be a key to the race. And he's going super. Robert said he's been around Cannington, he's seen the place. He's trialling the place down in Melbourne instead of going up to the Easter egg and things like that, ready to get ready for the Sandgroper. So hopefully all the plans fall into place for us.
It's currently $7 on Tab Touch. That is, of course, before the box draw. Chris, always good to catch up.
No worries, anytime, boys.
Thanks, Halse.
There he is. Thanks for coming on the program.